Ken Rosenthal, one of the top baseball analysts in the game, came out yesterday and slammed the Washington Nationals. And let me tell you this, he's right.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the video version over on YouTube. When you do, hit that subscribe button, or if you're on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your audio podcasts. Again, just look up Locked On Nationals and hit that subscriber button. Later on in today's program, we'll be discussing Game 2 of this Mariners series. The Nationals lost 9-1 yesterday, but that takes the back seat to, number one, James Wood is a superstar. But number two, and actually really number one, Ken Rosenthal came out of nowhere yesterday, and he slammed the Washington Nationals. And let me tell you this, he is right. Let me tell you about that article that he wrote in yesterday's game. After the show came out, I saw that Ken Rosenthal wrote a piece in the Washington Nationals, and for a national beat reporter, or an insider, whatever you want to call Ken Rosenthal, to write about the Nationals, it's pretty cool. You don't really get that much national coverage unless it's C.J. Abrams and James Wood in the Juan Soto trade. That's really it. But he came out, and that article was not friendly. He described the Washington Nationals and put them in the conversation of the bottom dwellers that includes the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Chicago White Sox, and the Miami Marlins. And according to Ken Rosenthal, the Washington Nationals belong in that conversation. And he's right. Since 2020, the beginning of 2020, right after the Nationals have won the World Series, they are third in losses in Major League Baseball behind the Pirates and behind the Rockies. Unacceptable. One real damning quote, in my opinion, that I think a lot of us have preached here from Ken Rosenthal. He said, good teams spend and develop. The Nats do neither. They don't. They do not have a top payroll in all of baseball. They don't really develop all too well. And take out the Juan Soto trade here. Let's say we don't have C.J. Abrams. Let's say you don't have James Wood. You don't have Mackenzie Gore. You don't have Robert Hassel III. What would we have at this point in time? What would you have? You would not have anything. And the real point that I want to get down to with this is, let's just be honest. The way that this organization is run right now is not acceptable. And I hate to talk about this on May 28th. I do. I don't want to talk about this team being in a bad situation, but they are. And it starts at the top with the Nationals ownership. Ken Rosenthal did kind of mention the ownership in limbo here. And let's be frank. You might be a business owner out there. You might know someone who knows a business, or maybe you follow other sports, like for instance, the Washington Commanders right here in town. The once Washington Redskins were this renowned organization. Everyone wanted to play here. It was a football town. And then Dan Snyder came to town. New ownership. The brand was still the same, but you have new ownership. With that new ownership, it ruined everything. No one wanted to play here anymore. We got last pit dibs on free agency. You had to overspend and pay a loser's tax in a way that the Redskins at the time never had to before Dan Snyder. Ruined the brand. The learners are not on that scale. No one is on the Dan Snyder scale. No one is, and let me get that straight right now. But their ownership and really just the lack of direction, what's going on with where we are at this moment in time, it's concerning. It's to the point where, obviously, in this story, someone within the organization gave Ken Rosenthal some insight. I'm not saying it's 100% the absolute thing that someone did, but let's be frank. That is what happened. Someone within this, whether it be front office, whether it be a scout, who knows, or a former GM, who knows who gave Ken Rosenthal this information. But the main point of this piece, calling the Nationals bottom dwellers, guys, wake up and smell the coffee. We are at this point. Because the main key of this story is that good teams spend, which is on ownership to develop that budget. And as far as I know, I think Mike Rizzo is not at the forefront of that. He has no control over what money he spends. Obviously, he picks and chooses the players and the ingredients that goes into this meal of creating a Major League Baseball team. Of course, he picks those players, but he does not pick the budget. That is up to the Lerner family. And as far as I know, the Lerner family, they're torn. Some people want to keep the team. Some others, they want to sell the team. And it's very obvious that they cannot agree on a single budget. One word to just kind of wrap the story around with the Nationals, it's dysfunction. This right now is a dysfunctional organization for many different reasons. We can start at the ownership level. Ownership, they're not all in. They're not. They're not 100% committed to this team. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. Maybe with the new Masson news, more revenue coming potentially, things could change, potentially. Let's go down to the president of baseball ops with Mike Rizzo. I like Mike Rizzo. I think he's a good GM. With that said, he has not drafted nor developed, and he's at the head of that operation here. If the Nationals drafted and developed in the 2010s, outside of Bryce Harper, outside of Steven Strasburg and Anthony Rendon, what would you have? Not much. And let's be honest, the Nationals got incredibly lucky picking first overall in 2009 and 2010. You got a generational talent pitcher with Steven Strasburg who came up and dominated and took over the baseball world in 2010. Then fast forward to that year and that summer, you have another generational prospect, a 17, 18-year-old Bryce Harper who's on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a high schooler, being drafted number 1 overall. Those are two generational players and legit generational prospects entering that year. I could have made that pick. You could have made that pick. Everyone knew they were going to be taking Steven Strasburg, and everyone knew they were going to be taking Bryce Harper. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They were going with the generational guy. If it weren't for those picks, what would we be calling Mike Rizzo? And what would the 2010s be like? Again, I like Mike Rizzo, and we could dive deeper into this as we go on here in today's show. But yesterday's story was just an eye-opener. From the national level, I always try to think to myself, what do people think about the Washington Nationals here? You know, the casual baseball fans, maybe not the casual, the people who maybe watch the Washington Nationals every now and then on MLB Network, whatever it is, they may see the Nationals and be like, well, they've got some young talent there. They've got James Wood, C.J. Abrams, and, you know, they've got some good talent. We should be better. And this rebuild, and that Ken Rosenthal pointed out in this piece, is that Mike Rizzo back in 2022 clearly stated that this is a reboot and not a rebuild. I had an issue from that from day one. When he said those words, I was on this podcast and I said it here. You can go find the receipts. I said, this is a rebuild, not a reboot. This team, it's talented, but still, it's got a better farm system at that point because of that Juan Soto trade. But you still got to spend money and you still got to land some draft picks. And the Nationals have not done that. Just to name a few first-round picks over the years. Eric Fetty, bust. Let's be honest here. Not a good pick. was not a major league pitcher with us, went overseas, came back. All of a sudden, he's a great pitcher. Look at guys like Mason Denneberg. Unfortunately, injuries derailed his career, but now he's going to play football at UCF, Division I football player now. He's, I don't know, maybe 23, 24 years old. He's going on to play football. Cool. You got guys like Carter Kieboom. I couldn't tell you where Carter Kieboom is at right now. He was once a top 15 prospect in all of baseball. Never panned down in the majors. Development was not there. Guys like Elijah Green at this point. While he's still young, while he's a great kid, he is a great talent. He was in high A Wilmington this year. The same issues as before, striking out nearly 40% of his at-bats, not really hitting for big pop, was sent down to rookie ball. In his, third professional season, he's down in the Florida Coast League. This is an issue, guys. And yes, it is also ownership. Ownership starts with everything. If you gave Mike Rizzo the budget to go out there and build a contender, he's done it before. So while Mike Rizzo does deserve some blame here, it really starts at the top with ownership. And the limbo and kind of this team that is in between a spender and a team that's in between the Tampa Bay Rays, and they want to develop guys and trade them away and build in all these assets. If that's what you want to be with the Tampa Bay Rays, you're not good at that. And Mike Rizzo is not the guy for that. That's not what he does. So it's hard to kind of toe the line here and say, well, ownership deserves all the blame here. They do a little bit, but also Mike Rizzo does. And quite frankly, the organization as a whole does. The whole thing, the whole operation. Because let's be honest, these last 5 years, 6 years, we have been bottom dwellers. And while this year you've seen some positivity, it's really only from that Juan Soto deal. And with how bad the Nationals have been over the last 6 years, the only real first-round picks you have to show from it is Brady House. Travis Sikora was not a first-round pick, a third-round pick. I think he's good. I think you've got guys like Luke Dickerson down in Low A Fredericksburg. I think he could be really good down the line. There's also a handful of guys that we can check in on, and maybe there's something like Dalen Lyle, Robert Hassel III in that Juan Soto deal. I think they've got some real potential to be really good major leaguers. But we should be better. And this system should be top 5 right now. And there's no excuse. Don't make the excuse, well, when you're picking 25th all the time in the 2010s, it's hard to land a star. Ask the LA Dodgers that. They seem to land stars. They land top prospects. They draft and they develop. Even while they win 95-plus games every single year. The Tampa Bay Rays, they churn out prospects the way that I eat ice cream. A lot. The whole conversation at this point with the Nationals, good teams spend and good teams also develop. The Nats don't do either. And that was a fair point. So do the Nationals belong in the bottom dwellers of baseball? I mean, I think they're in a better position than the Pirates. I think they're a better position than the White Sox. But yeah, I think that this organization and where they are now, it does belong in that conversation. And I do think that it was a fair piece by Ken Rosenthal. And another issue that I kind of hit on a little earlier in the show, this was from someone within the organization. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what it screams. It screams a text that was sent to Ken Rosenthal and someone saying, take a look at this, man. This organization is a you-know-what show. And you better write about it because this team, it's a mess. And they're right. This team, the organization, we got to be better. And I think we could be. Ownership's going to have to decide where you want to go. Do you want to be a spender? You want to develop guys like the Tampa Bay Rays? And if you do want to develop guys like the Tampa Bay Rays, get the assets in here that allow you to do just that. Because right now, with Mike Rizzo, that's not what he does, unfortunately. If you give him a budget, he'll build a contender. But right now, they don't have that, and they don't have the assets to build this massive farm system and turn out prospects out the you-know-what. Things are going to have to change. I think a lot of people kind of woke up with that Ken Rosenthal story. So I hate to be negative on this rainy, gloomy day. That's just what the big story was in town yesterday. So we had to talk about it. So yeah, fortunately, our bottom numbers. We're with the Rockies and we're with the White Sox. Sucks to say it, but that's just how it is. With all that in mind, let's talk some positive. We got to mix in some positive here because there are some. The Nationals did lose 9-1 yesterday, but our superstar, James Wood, he's superstarring. Let's talk about him after I tell you guys about some of our very good friends at Monarch Money. And do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. And when I started using Monarch Money, I realized just how much I was spending on food being delivered and going out and having just a few beers at dinner. And all of a sudden, it stacks up over time. And Monarch Money made me realize that. And now with them, they allow me to budget smarter and save more money, because instead of juggling multiple apps, I can have everything on one to help me build financial goals and also track my spending to say, hey, maybe not have 3 beers at the baseball game. And so when I do that, I want you to do this. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Again, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. With all that negative in the first 15 minutes or so of the show, because we had to talk about it, had to get it off my chest, and it's a little bit of true serum that the Nationals needed. So we talked about it, but let's get into some positive here. And the positive, it's a great one. James Wood. While the Nationals lost 9-1 yesterday, whatever, first game of West Coast swing, flush it down the toilet, let's get them tonight. Move on from it, but James Wood, what a stud player. Yesterday, in his second or third at-bat of the game, hit a 450-foot moonshot at Safeco Field, or it's not, I think it's T-Mobile Park at this point. And where his numbers rank right now in all of baseball, like when I say this season, James Wood has been one of the best outfielders in all of baseball. James Wood has been one of the most valuable players in the sport, hitting his 14th home run last night, and he's just so much fun to watch. My nonchalant king. What an absolute steal of a trade for Mike Rizzo. See, giving out compliments this segment. Where James Wood ranks right now, as far as baseball, just major league quality players, he, in my opinion, is a top 10 outfielder. I don't think that's crazy to say either. And as far as talent goes, his talent is out of this world. Looking at the numbers here, his exit velo, his average exit velo is in the 94th percentile. His hard hit percentage is in the 99th percentile. His bat speed is in the 95th percentile, which is absurd for someone with long arms like that and for someone who has a 6'7" frame. Mentioning that 6'7" frame, he must not be fast, right? No. 71st percentile speed. I think it's hard to grasp at times the special talent that we have here with James Wood. It is, because let's be frank, we've seen special talents here. You have seen Bryce Harper. You have seen Juan Soto. We know what special looks like. This guy is special. And for whatever reason, I think with where the Nats are, now that I think about it, we don't really talk enough about how good James Wood is at such a young age. 22 years old. Doing what he is doing each and every single night, hitting for a relatively high average, drawing his walks at above a 50 percentile clip. He does strike out a little too often, but if you're going to get on base and if you're going to hit for power the way that he does and be as elite as a hitter as he is right now, I don't care about striking out. Strikeout is all you want at this point in time. But James Wood is a superstar. And I just wanted to talk about him after we just crushed the organization for 15 minutes because this is a success story. And this is a big one for the Nationals. I do think development-wise, James Wood, mostly the Padres kind of fixed some of his issues coming out of high school. And that's the reason why this guy was not a top 10 pick. But James Wood coming to the Nationals, the Nats also did their thing. They also did develop James Wood in a big way. And 2 years ago, he didn't put up the craziest numbers ever. But last year, you saw what this guy could do. In AAA, he killed the baseball all the way through the first few months of the season, got the call up in mid-July, and the guy has not looked back since. James Wood is your Juan Soto and your Bryce Harper. He is this decade's version of those superstars. And man, is he a good one. He is an awesome player for the Washington Nationals. And if this guy, actually, I'm not even going to say it, but don't you dare in those comments, in that comment section, that damn comment section of YouTube, don't you dare say, well, he's going to get traded in the next few years. Don't even mention it. Not here for it. Who knows what will happen? Who knows if ownership will be in town? Who knows if he gets an extension done? Likely not. He's a Scott Boras guy, but still. Don't even mention it. This guy is special, and each and every single day that we don't mention James Wood being a star, shame on me and shame on you. This guy is a stud, and getting to watch him every night, 6 days a week, what a treat it has been to watch James Wood. So there's our positive. As we said, we did kind of move on from game one yesterday. Let's talk about it a little bit here and also preview tonight's game against the Mariners because this is a really tough pitching staff to go up against. And the Nationals, they go up against George Kirby, who has only made one start this year coming off the IL. And he's another very good pitcher for the Seattle Mariners. So let's discuss that after this. The Nationals take on the Seattle Mariners tonight in Seattle, T-Mobile Park, 9:40 first pitch over on Masson. And real quick, let's kind of move on from yesterday. The Nationals lost 9-1. As we mentioned, James Wood hit that solo home run, 450 feet, dead center field, above the batter's eye, I believe. And Mitchell Parker started yesterday, did not make it through 5 innings pitch, and he gave up 3 home runs. And it's let's be honest, not a good performance from Mitchell Parker. The command has not really been there. The curveball has not been there. And he got taken advantage of last night, taking 3 trips around the bases, a couple from Cal Raleigh. And this is a good team he's going up against. So unfortunately for him, if you're not going to be putting the ball in pinpoint placement, they're going to take advantage of your misses. And that's what the Mariners did last night. Mitchell Parker did not have his A stuff. He probably had his C stuff at best. Didn't make it through 5. Jackson Rutledge came in, got tattooed also. Andrew Chafin came in later, looked okay. Overall, the bullpen was not the issue yesterday. It was the offense. And by the way, when the Nationals tweeted out the final score last night, when it was like final, Mariners 9, Nationals 1, I just wanted to look through the comments on YouTube, or not on YouTube, on Twitter rather, and everyone was just up in arms. I mean, the fan base right now, after the Ken Rosenthal story, it's in shambles. This team, this fan base, they're tired of it, man. They're not feeling it at this point. The first few things I saw were fire Coles, sell the team, you guys suck. I saw one pretty funny comment about how the Nationals are just the worst team ever. Like it was insane. I've never seen Nationals fans up like this really since the beginning of 2019 when everyone was saying fire Davey, and we all know what happened after that. They went on a magical run, won nearly 70% of their games after that, and won the World Series. So I don't think it's going to be the case this year, but any hoodles, let's talk about tonight's game. Move on from yesterday's game, talk about tonight. The Nationals, they've got Trevor Williams in the bump tonight. Yeah, Trevor Williams in the bump tonight. Where do I go? What do I do with my hands? What do I say? Do I lie to you? It's not a good matchup. There's never a good matchup for Trevor Williams at this point. And we're going up against George Kirby, someone who's very talented, someone who's come off a monster season with the Mariners, including just filthy stuff that the Nats are going to have to try and battle against. Good luck with it. Because if the Nationals offense is not going to show up, then we're in trouble tonight. That's just how it is. Because again, the Nats, when you face good pitching, I feel as if the Nats have actually done well. And when they do play up to their opponents at times, we've seen it against the Braves, you've seen it against the Phillies, and the Nats offense can kind of put up and shut up whenever they want. But this is one of those things where it just feels as if the weather outside is telling me what the Nationals are going to be doing. It's a cloudy, rainy, chilly day. It's about to be June. And the Nats just got slammed yesterday by Ken Rosenthal. Not a fun outing. Not a fun show. And certainly not a fun matchup against a very good team with very good pitching. So can the Nationals persevere and kind of push through and get a win tonight and rally the troops here a little bit? I think so. But we'll see what happens because Trevor Williams, a 6.39 ERA on the year. It's a tough one. The Nats offense, you're going to have to put 6+ runs up tonight at least. At least. And that's where we are. So sorry for the bad show today. Sorry for the negativity. But that's where the Nats fans are. And that was the talk around town today for the Nationals. And let's be honest. The Nationals are acting as if they're a bottom dweller franchise at this point. And it's hard to look past that because we've all thought it for a while. It sucks to say it, sucks to admit it, maybe a little harsh, but that's the way that they're acting. It starts at the top, goes down to Mike Rizzo, goes down to David Martinez, and I don't think it goes down to the players. I think the players, they know what they do. They know what they have to do each and every night, and they can only control what they can control in between the lines. I don't blame the players. I do blame the organization, though. So that's where we stand with that. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Tomorrow will be a better day. Hopefully another beat writer or someone like that doesn't write some hit piece on the Nationals and we have to talk about it again because that was not fun. I want to go back to 2019 when the Nationals were winning World Series, when you had a 20-year-old stud with Juan Soto, when you had Victor Robles, and we all were praising his future. But that's what we talked about today. So it's unfortunate. That's the truth. So thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Enjoy tonight's game against the Mariners. Trevor Williams, go 5 innings, please. I'll catch you on the flip side.